Dr. Vasquez stumbled away from her neural interface station, ignoring the concerned glances from her team. The translation algorithms were functioning perfectly, too perfectly. What she detected wasn't a glitch, but a revelation. "They're terrified of us," she whispered, more to herself than to Director Harmon standing beside her. Not contemptuous. Terrified. "That makes no logical sense, Doctor," Harmon replied, adjusting his glasses. "Their technological superiority is obvious. Those ships could glass our cities before we launched a single missile. And yet," she pulled up the emotional resonance patterns on her tablet. "Look at these spikes during the ambassador's ultimatum. Their language embeds emotional harmonics, similar to how we use tone, but quantifiable in their speech patterns. This isn't the signature of a confident superior force. It's the signature of someone holding a wolf at bay with a flimsy stick." Outside the uncomplex, crowds had gathered behind military barricades. Some held signs welcoming alien overlords, others promising resistance until death. The full spectrum of human response, from submission to defiance, played out in real time across every major city. Meanwhile, in the Pentagon's secure conference room, General Matheson slammed his fist on the table. "We can't just roll over. Whatever restrictions they impose will ensure we never close the technological gap." "And what do you propose?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "Suicide by alien." The Chinese military attaché, General Li, who had remained silent until now, slid a tablet across the table. "Perhaps neither option is necessary." The screen showed satellite imagery of the Pacific Ocean, where a Confederation survey vessel hovered just above the waves. What caught everyone's attention was the barely perceptible distortion surrounding it. A human stealth vessel, previously unknown to most in the room, shadowing the alien craft. "How long have you had this capability?" demanded Matheson. Lai smiled thinly. "Does it matter? The Russians have similar technology. I suspect you do as well. The question is not what we've kept from each other, but what we've kept from them." Across the globe, covert facilities hummed with activity. In the Australian outback, massive hangar doors concealed beneath decades of carefully cultivated vegetation slowly parted. In Siberia, technicians removed preservation fluid from quantum computing cores reverse-engineered from technology not of this earth. Beneath Lake Geneva, directly under the uncomplex where Cluterax had delivered his ultimatum, a facility that appeared on no official blueprint sprang to life for the first time since the Cold War. Back in her lab, Dr. Vasquez established a secure connection to a man she'd never met, but whose reputation preceded him, Captain James Chen, the enigmatic director of a program that officially didn't exist. "I need everything you have on their communication protocols," she said without preamble. "I think I've found a weakness." Chen's face revealed nothing, but his immediate response told her everything. "You're being relocated. Pack nothing. Tell no one." As her escort arrived minutes later, Vasquez caught a final glimpse of the mothership through her laboratory window. Its sleek, impossibly smooth surface absorbed rather than reflected sunlight. A perfect predator adapted for stealth among the stars. Yet her data suggested its occupants behaved like prey. The question that burned in her mind as the helicopter lifted off was simple. What could make such advanced beings fear humans? She would have her answer soon enough. The bunker's air tasted recycled and metallic as Dr. Vasquez pored over the stolen Confederation data. 50 stories beneath Manhattan's bustling streets, surrounded by quantum servers and holographic displays, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. "This changes everything," Captain Chen said, rubbing his bloodshot eyes. He hadn't slept in nearly 72 hours. "Not just our response to their ultimatum, but our understanding of human history." The holographic star map rotated slowly above the conference table. Earth's sun, a tiny pinprick of light among thousands. Scattered throughout the galaxy, 27 systems glowed with a distinctive red marker, the precursor quarantine zones. 4 are actively inhabited, Vasquez noted, zooming in on Earth's marker. The rest appear to be archaeological preserves or extinct civilizations. Chen's second-in-command, Major Kaminsky, manipulated the display to highlight a series of genetic comparisons. They've been monitoring our DNA for centuries, collecting samples, tracking markers they consider dangerous. Dangerous how? Asked Vasquez. Chen pulled up another file, retrieved footage from a world designated had 85,512 bits, known to its inhabitants as Terrace. The recording showed a lush, Earth-like planet with sprawling cities reminiscent of ancient Rome, but with technology suggesting early industrial development. Then came the Confederation ships, thousands of them, darkening the skies. Not with weapons, but with clouds of engineered microbes. Selective technological regression, Chen explained as the footage showed the civilization crumbling over mere decades. They didn't kill the population. They modified them, removing certain cognitive capabilities, dampening innovation drive, introducing genetic predispositions toward conformity and away from exploration. Genetic pacification, whispered Vasquez, her stomach churning. The same fate they had planned for us, Kaminsky added grimly. Until something changed their approach. They decided we required more direct supervision. Vasquez opened another file, a Confederation psychological assessment of humanity that had been translated by their eye systems. The clinical detachment of the report made its contents all the more disturbing. Species exhibits unprecedented adaptive capacity and technological acceleration curve. Unlike previous precursor descendants, Terrans combine high creativity with high aggression, producing a danger profile exceeding all historical precedents. Most concerning, their ability to rapidly reverse engineer technologies beyond their development stage, their pack bonding with dissimilar entities, and their unusual resistance to psychological deterrence. The report continued with a security recommendation that made her blood run cold. Standard quarantine protocols deemed insufficient. Recommend immediate integration into protectorate status with cognitive limiters deployed to key population centers. Should resistance exceed projections, implement emergency sterilization protocol Delta. Preserve genetic samples only. They've been watching us since at least the Bronze Age, Chen said, bringing up ancient Sumerian tablets alongside Confederation reports from the same period. These gods descending from the sky. Confederation observation posts. The Roswell incident wasn't first contact. It was just the first time we caught them. A junior analyst burst into the room, tablet in hand. Captain, we've cracked their fleet communications. They're not waiting for our answer. They've already dispatched a sterilization fleet as a contingency. 8 to 63 hours. Chen's face hardened. Then we have 62 hours to show them why that was the worst decision in their history. Vasquez looked again at the genetic markers the Confederation feared, the very ones that make humans uniquely capable of rapid adaptation and innovation under pressure. They've never faced a cornered human before, have they? No, Chen said with a grim smile. But they're about to. Emergency klaxons wailed across the underground facility as Captain Chen strode through the blast doors into what was officially designated as Deep Storage Site Alpha. The cavernous chamber that greeted him had nothing to do with storage and everything to do with humanity's most closely guarded secret. Status report, he demanded as technicians scrambled around an object that shouldn't exist. A sleek, silver craft of unmistakably alien origin. Roswell Prime is at 93% operational capacity, replied Dr. Yuzuki Nakamura, the project's lead engineer. We've successfully integrated our quantum communication arrays with the original propulsion systems. The real question is whether anyone can actually fly it. Chen's gaze shifted to the pilot waiting beside the craft. Major Sofia Alvarez stood ramrod straight in a flight suit emblazoned with patches from no known military program. 20 years in simulators, Captain, she said, anticipating his question. I've logged more hours in theoretical flight models than any human alive. If anyone can fly this thing, it's me. It's not just about flying, Chen reminded her. If our translations are correct, the navigation system is genetically keyed to precursor DNA markers. Alvarez's expression remained confident. Then it's fortunate I tested positive for 16 of the 23 critical markers, isn't it? Across the globe, similar scenes play out in facilities known only to a handful of individuals in each government. In the Ural Mountains, Russian cosmonauts prepared experimental crafts reverse engineered from recovered Confederation technology. Beneath the Gobi Desert, Chinese quantum physicists calibrated jump point calculations using algorithms derived from ancient astronomical records that suddenly made perfect sense. Meanwhile, in her improvised laboratory, Dr. Vasquez worked through excruciating pain. The neural interface allowing her to directly process Confederation language patterns had never been designed for extended human use. Blood vessels had burst in her left eye, turning the sclera crimson. The translator needs to be perfect, she muttered as her team begged her to disconnect. We get one shot at this. Her focus was on isolating specific sound frequencies that triggered fear responses in Confederation neural patterns. They weren't just translating a message, they were crafting a psychological weapon. There, she said, highlighting a particular harmonic pattern. Their threat assessment protocols are hardwired to respond to these frequency combinations. It's why they find human speech patterns so disturbing. Our voices naturally hit resonances that trigger their danger response. In Washington, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and other capitals, civilian leadership had been quietly evacuated to hardened bunkers. The public narrative was ongoing diplomatic negotiations, but the truth was preparation for potential planetary bombardment. The Secretary General of the UN made the unprecedented decision to reveal a portion of the truth to the public. News channels worldwide simultaneously broadcast her message. Citizens of Earth, the Confederation ultimatum is not what it appears. We have credible evidence their intentions are hostile regardless of our answer. But I assure you, humanity is not defenseless. For 75 years, since the first confirmed extraterrestrial encounter, the nations of Earth have secretly cooperated on contingency measures. Today, those measures activate. Stand firm. Stay unified. Humanity will not kneel. As the broadcast ended, the first phase of Operation Breaking Chains commenced. Satellite networks reconfigured to new protocols. Power grids worldwide dimmed momentarily as massive energy reserves redirected to classified installations. And in orbit, supposedly unarmed weather satellites shed their disguises, revealing weapon systems designed from principles not of this world. 23 minutes later, as the Confederation mothership adjusted its position over Geneva, Captain Chen gave the order that humanity had prepared for since 1947. Initiate first contact protocol. Real contact this time. Let's introduce ourselves properly. Ambassador Clutarax's mandibles quivered with barely suppressed rage as he stared at the human delegation. The transparent walls of the unchamber revealed Geneva transformed, defense platforms hovering where none had existed moments before, their energy signatures unmistakably derived from Confederation technology. Impossible, he hissed, his translator struggling to convey the mixture of outrage and disbelief in his voice. Your species couldn't have developed these systems independently. We didn't, Captain Chen replied calmly. We had help from your own carelessness. A holographic display materialized between them, showing the Roswell crash of 1947. But from a perspective Clutarax recognized with shock, the internal security feed of the Confederation scout ship itself. You recovered the black box, Clutarax realized, his outer eyelids narrowing to slits. And so much more, Dr. Vasquez added, stepping forward. Her left eye remained bloodshot, but her voice carried perfectly modulated frequencies designed to provoke anxiety in Confederation neural patterns. Your observation team crashed after detecting our first atomic weapons test. Primitive as we were, we still managed to reconstruct much of your technology. Imagine what we can do now." Outside the chamber, the countdown clock showed 59 minutes remaining. The world watched through an unprecedented global broadcast as humanity revealed its hidden strength. In orbit, Major Alvarez guided Roswell Prime along a trajectory that brought it alongside the Confederation mothership. The alien craft, restored to functionality after decades of reverse engineering, activated recognition protocols that confused the mothership's automated defense systems. Warning signals blared throughout the Confederation fleet as their own IF systems identified the approaching vessel as a long-lost scout ship, with command-level clearance. Receiving their automated challenge, Alvarez reported through the quantum communication network. Transmitting response codes, now. The codes, painstakingly reconstructed from the crash data, were 75 years out of date, but still recognized by systems designed for backward compatibility. The mothership's defensive shield grid hesitated, creating a momentary vulnerability that human stealth platforms had been positioned to exploit. All teams in position, confirmed General Ramirez from the Antarctic Command Center. Awaiting your order, Captain. On Mars, the dome cities powered up fully, their adaptive camouflage deactivating to reveal structures far more advanced than publicly acknowledged. The first human settlement on the Red Planet hadn't been established in the 2030s as officially recorded. A small contingent had been there since the 1980s, hidden from both Earth's population and Confederation observers. In Unchamber, Ambassador Cluterax received an urgent communication from his fleet commander. Human ships had been detected at jump points near 7 critical Confederation worlds, including the capital. Each carried weapons that, while primitive by Confederation standards, were positioned where planetary shields were weakest. "You're bluffing," Cluterax said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "Your species couldn't possibly have mastered jump point navigation." Dr. Vasquez smiled. "We've had your star charts since Roswell. Did you think we wouldn't use them?" The timer reached 45 minutes as Captain Chen delivered humanity's terms. His words, enhanced by Dr. Vasquez's translation algorithms, struck directly at the Confederation's deepest fears. Withdraw your sterilization fleet. Recognize Earth as a sovereign equal. Release the contained worlds from their quarantine. You came to us with chains, Ambassador. We're showing you exactly why that was a mistake. A new alert flashed across Cluterax's communication implant. Major Alvarez had successfully used Roswell Prime to access the mothership's central database and was downloading its contents. Information that had taken the Confederation millennia to compile was being transferred to human systems in minutes. And the countdown continued. Ambassador Cluterax paced the confines of his diplomatic quarters, the weight of revelation crushing his previous certainties. Through the windows, he watched a human family picnicking in a Geneva park, a mother helping her child fly a simple kite, the father laughing as their small dog chased its tail. Such ordinary moments, yet they contradicted everything the Confederation had taught about precursor descendants. His second-in-command, Sub-Envoy Mickrel, entered without the customary permission chime, a breach of protocol that immediately put Cluterax on alert. The Proxian military director has issued special directives, Mickrel stated, mandibles arranged in the formal pattern denoting absolute authority. Your negotiations with the humans have been deemed compromised. Cluterax noted the subtle shift in Mickrel's posture, the right upper limb drifting toward the ceremonial blade that doubled as a molecular disruptor. 3,000 years of diplomatic tradition were about to be violated, and with them, Cluterax's existence. The Directorate fears what I've learned, Cluterax said calmly, moving toward the window. They should. On his private neural channel, he activated an emergency protocol he'd never expected to use. Direct communication with Captain Chen, bypassing all Confederation monitoring. A feature he'd secretly added after their first private conversation. They're moving to silence me, he transmitted. "The assassination confirms everything." Across the galaxy, the ripples of Earth's defiance were becoming tidal waves. On Rigel Prime, the Science Consortium gathered in emergency session as their most advanced eye systems struggled to process the implications of human technological development. Their innovation curve exceeds all predictive models, the chief analyst reported, her tentacles gesturing at holographic projections. This species went from primitive flight to rudimentary space travel in 66 years. From their first digital computer to quantum processors in 70. No other species in Confederation records shows such acceleration. "Perhaps because we've been deliberately suppressing such potential," suggested a junior analyst, immediately regretting his boldness as superior eyes turned toward him. But instead of reprimand, the chief analyst slowly nodded. "A hypothesis consistent with the data. We've been taught that rapid advancement leads inevitably to self-destruction. Yet Earth's historical record suggests otherwise. They've repeatedly approached extinction thresholds and pulled back. On Tau Ce's capital world, atmospheric processors labored against centuries of industrial damage. The governing council reviewed the technological package anonymously delivered by human operatives. Schematics for a planetary-scale air purification system that their own scientists had declared theoretically impossible. If this functions as described, the environmental minister said, voice trembling, it would restore our atmosphere within 15 years instead of the projected 300. The defense minister's expression darkened. And what price do these humans demand? That's the most disturbing part, replied the premier. Nothing. The message simply says, from one species fighting to survive to another. No strings attached. On the 3 contained worlds, populations who had lived under Confederation-imposed technological restrictions for generations suddenly found their planetary communication networks activated with new protocols. On Terrace, once forced back to pre-industrial technology, village leaders gathered around screens showing technical schematics, medical knowledge, and historical records of their own past glory. But most significantly, they received something the Confederation had deliberately withheld: their own genetic history, with the precursor markers highlighted alongside a simple message. You are not alone. Earth stands with you. Back in his diplomatic quarters, Ambassador Clitorax faced his would-be assassin with newfound clarity. Before you execute your orders, he said to Mikril, you should know that humans just restored full communications to all 3 contained worlds simultaneously. The foundations of the Confederation are already crumbling. Mikril hesitated, just long enough for the reinforced windows to opaque as Captain Chen's extraction team arrived. The lunar cave system stretched before Dr. Vasquez like a cathedral carved by gods. Towering crystalline formations pulsed with faint blue light, responding to her presence, or more specifically, to her dana. The activation sequence is complete, she reported to the team monitoring her progress from the makeshift research station at the cave entrance. The precursor archive is fully responsive. Her voice echoed strangely in the chamber as she approached the central artifact, a spherical device suspended in a gravity-defying dance between floor and ceiling. Unlike the reverse-engineered technology humanity had cobbled together from the Roswell crash, this was intact, pristine, and actively scanning her. When she placed her palm against its cool surface, the sphere pulsed once and the entire chamber transformed. Stars surrounded her in a 3-dimensional representation of the galaxy as it had existed 50,000 years ago. A voice spoke directly into her mind in a language she shouldn't understand but somehow did, the original precursor tongue, structurally embedded in her neurological patterns. Genetic validation accepted. Historical record access granted. The display shifted to show beings that appeared almost human, yet with subtle differences: slightly elongated limbs, eyes with vertical pupils, skin with a faint iridescence. They moved through spacecraft of impossible elegance, visiting worlds where they interacted with primitive species. We were explorers first, the voice explained as Vasquez watched, transfixed. We found life abundant, but intelligence rare and fragile. Some among us argued for conservation through isolation. Others for guided development. The images shifted to show heated debates among the precursors, philosophical divisions forming between factions. Our final consensus: to uplift through example, not control. To guide through inspiration, not dominion. Vasquez watched as the precursors established outposts on worlds with promising species, including all 17 that would later form the Confederation. They shared technology, medicine, art, but always with careful consideration for each species' unique evolutionary path. Then came the question. The voice continued as the display showed the precursors gathering for what appeared to be a momentous decision. Had we done enough? Or too much? Were our children ready to stand without our shadow? The precursors' plan unfolded before her. A deliberate withdrawal from galactic affairs, not extinction but a test. They would retreat to a distant region, watching and waiting to see what their children would build in their absence. Would they continue the legacy of cooperation and exploration, or turn to domination? Some among us left genetic markers within promising species, potential to be activated when needed. You carry these markers, descendant. They are awakening now. The final revelation struck Vasquez with such force that she staggered. Images of precursors arriving on prehistoric Earth, finding early hominids with unique neurological flexibility. The genetic modifications they made were minimal but crucial, enhancing adaptability, creativity, and cooperative problem-solving. You were our final experiment, the voice explained. The most promising yet most unpredictable. The species that might transcend even our achievements. Back in Earth orbit, Ambassador Clitorax witnessed the transmission of this revelation to the Confederation Council in real time. Captain Chen had arranged for him to observe from the safety of the human flagship Defiance as the truth of their shared history unfolded before the galaxy's leaders. Everything we built was based on a lie, Clitorax whispered, his translator unable to fully capture the existential horror in his voice. The Confederation was founded to prevent exactly what the precursors intended. There's more, Chen said grimly, pointing to a new alert flashing across tactical displays. The Proxian hardliners have launched their attack fleet. They're not waiting for Council authorization. As if to confirm his words, the first energy signatures of Confederation warships began appearing in Earth's orbital space. The battle for humanity's future had begun. Admiral Zexker's flagship, Inevitable Dominance, led the Proxian battle group through the jump point with practiced precision. 300 warships arranged in the classic Confederation spear formation, designed to penetrate planetary defenses with overwhelming force. For 8 centuries, this tactic had brought swift victory against less advanced species. Targeting solutions acquired, announced his tactical officer. Earth's orbital platforms are within range. Begin primary weapon charge sequence. Zexker commanded, mandibles clicking in anticipation. We will show these humans the price of defiance before the Council can interfere with their misguided diplomacy. The massive energy capacitors thrummed as power built toward the devastating first strike. A simultaneous barrage from all 300 ships that would overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer volume of fire. But the expected defensive formation of human vessels never materialized. Instead, Captain Chen's voice echoed through every ship in the Proxian fleet, somehow bypassing their communication security. Chaos protocol activated. Human ships emerged from stealth positions, but not in any formation recognized by Confederation tactical doctrine. They moved in seemingly random patterns, their trajectories defying prediction algorithms. Some accelerated toward the Proxian fleet at suicidal speeds, others executed impossible maneuvers that suggested artificial gravity manipulation beyond Confederation capabilities. They're not following any known engagement pattern, shouted the tactical officer as targeting systems struggled to lock onto the erratically moving vessels. Admiral Zexker watched in mounting horror as his carefully orchestrated attack dissolved into confusion. The hewn ships weren't just random. They were adapting in real time, each movement precisely calculated to exploit gaps in Confederation tactical responses. Aboard the Defiance, Captain Chen directed the counteroffensive with calm intensity. Holographic displays showed the entire theater of operation, with eye-enhanced prediction models highlighting Confederation blind spots. Synchronized disruption beams on my mark. He ordered as his engineers completed a final modification to their weapon systems. They've never faced an adversary who could adapt during battle. Their tactical algorithms are designed for predictable opponents. Dr. Vasquez's insights from the precursor archives had provided the key. Confederation species had evolved in environments that favored methodical, hierarchical responses. Human evolution in Earth's chaotic ecosystem had created minds capable of intuitive leaps and pattern recognition that the Confederation's rigid command structure couldn't match. Execute now, Chen commanded. Across the battlefield, human ships suddenly shifted tactics. Those that had been drawing Confederation fire abruptly powered down weapon systems, diverting all energy to specialized emitters that targeted the inevitable dominance with precisely modulated energy pulses. The massive flagship systems flickered and died as cascading disruptions spread through its neural network. Admiral Zexker watched in disbelief as his command interfaces went dark, life support switching to emergency backup. Simultaneously, Dr. Vasquez activated the broadcast she had prepared, a system-wide transmission of the precursor records, including DNA comparisons that proved conclusively that all species in the conflict shared the same heritage. The message bypassed conventional channels, appearing directly on emergency systems and personal neural implants throughout the Confederation fleet. "This is what you're fighting to suppress," her voice declared across the stars. "Not an enemy, but your own history, your own potential." Throughout the Confederation fleet, individual ship captains faced an unprecedented crisis of conscience. On 37 Confederation worlds, the transmission broke through centuries of censorship, revealing to civilian populations the truth about their origins and about the war their leaders had initiated. Aboard a Tao Cetian cruiser, Captain Ral Xing watched the precursor evidence with growing certainty. His gaze shifted from the transmission to the orders still flashing on his command console. Eliminate all resistance. After 20 seconds that felt like eternity, he made his decision. "This stops now," he announced, and powered down his weapons. Across the battlefield, ship after ship followed suit. Saturn's rings gleamed like a cosmic crown as the Unity prepared for its historic journey. On the observation deck, Captain Ming Liu adjusted her uniform, the first to bear the insignia of the Galactic Concordance rather than any single world's emblems. At 29, she was the youngest deep space commander in Earth's history, chosen as much for her diplomatic acumen as her tactical brilliance. "Final preparations complete, Captain," reported her first officer, Commander Soren Larson. "All 21 species representatives are aboard and settled in their quarters." "And our special passenger?" Liu asked. "In the laboratory with Dr. Vasquez. They haven't emerged in 12 hours. Liu nodded, unsurprised. The precursor artifact recovered from the lunar caves had become the cornerstone of the Concordance's formation, and potentially the key to humanity's greatest journey yet. In the specially designed laboratory at Unity's core, Dr. Vasquez and Ambassador Cluterax worked in companionable silence. The Arcturian's four-fingered hands moved with surprising delicacy over the control surfaces of the artifact, which responded to his touch almost as readily as to Vasquez's. "The coordinates are precise," Cluterax noted, his translator now modified to capture the nuances of his speech. "This wasn't just a test for us. They left a path to follow." "When we were ready," Vasquez agreed. The past 3 months had transformed her. The neural enhancements from her work with the translation algorithms had permanently altered her brain structure, allowing her to process information in ways no human before her had experienced. They wanted to see if we would choose cooperation over domination. On the command deck, Admiral Chen delivered his final briefing to Captain Liu. 3 months ago, he had been fighting for Earth's survival. Now he represented humanity on the Concordance Council. "The journey you're undertaking goes beyond exploration, Captain," he said, gazing at the holographic star map showing their destination. A region of space deliberately obscured in all Confederation charts. "You're carrying the answer to a question the precursors asked 50,000 years ago." Liu's expression remained composed, but her eyes revealed her understanding of the weight on her shoulders. "And if we find them, what then?" "That's why you were chosen, Captain. No one can predict what meeting our evolutionary architects might mean. Your orders are simple: represent the best of what we've become. Not just humanity, but all 21 species aboard." Throughout the Unity, crew members from worlds that had been mortal enemies just months earlier now worked side by side. The Regelian science team collaborated with human physicists on drive modifications. Ta-Sician environmental engineers exchanged insights with Proxian biologists on sustainable life support systems. Even the formerly contained worlds had sent their brightest minds, eager to reclaim their place in galactic society. As the final launch sequence initiated, the precursor artifact in the laboratory emitted a pulse that resonated throughout the ship and beyond. On planets across the former Confederation, similar artifacts long thought to be inert archaeological curiosities suddenly activated, their signals converging in a pattern pointing toward Unity's destination. Captain Liu received the notification with quiet determination. "It seems our departure has been noticed," she said to her bridge crew. "Commence final launch sequence." As Unity's hybrid engines powered up, combining human ingenuity with technologies contributed by all member species, Admiral Chen delivered his final words to the departing vessel. "Remember, Captain, they'll judge us not by our technology, but by whether we finally understood their most important lesson. Strength without compassion is just another form of weakness." The ship accelerated gracefully away from Saturn, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. As it reached the calculated jump point, the engines shifted to the new configuration developed through combined research. Space itself seemed to bend and fold as Unity made the transition to faster-than-light travel. Not by forcing its way through reality as Confederation ships had done, but by harmonizing with the underlying fabric of spacetime. In the laboratory, the precursor artifact pulsed once more and displayed a simple message in the ancient language that Dr. Vasquez now understood. "The children are coming home."